Hi everyone, my name is Junabia Estorian. Now we will tackle about some behavioral teaching learning methods. But first, what is teaching learning methods? Teaching learning methods refers to the strategies and techniques used by educators to facilitate students' learning. First learning methods by Barak Rusenschen model. His model named direct instruction. It has 10 detailed steps. So first is state learning objective, which is you begin stating short objectives on your lesson to the learners. Second is review. Discuss short information on the previous lesson. Third is the present new materials. Present your different materials like text, audio, images, or videos that offer students a choice to find the pathway into the materials that works best for them. Fourth is explain. Of course, explain clearly the instruction what students will do on that specific materials or activities. Next is practice. Provide practice to the learners how to use the specific materials. Next is guide. While practicing, you must guide students to avoid accidents or anything that will make your lesson disturbed. Check for understanding. After the activity or practice, ask students if they understand what they doing and what are the lessons they learned. Provide feedback. Of course, give positive feedback of the student after the activity and correction with a good approach. Assess performance. Obtain student success rate of 80% or more during practice session. And last is review and test. Evaluate your students through review and test. Second method by Madeline Hunter. Her method named guided instruction. It has 8 detailed steps. First is review. Ask students to summarize the previous main points of your lesson or activity. Second is anticipatory set. Focus to your student what are their interests to get their attention. Third is the objective. State your objectives and discuss to them how will be useful that objective. Fourth is input. You must identify what students needed knowledge to your lesson and present materials they use. Fifth is modeling. In your lesson, give several examples relate to your lesson. Next is check understanding. Before you proceed to your activity, check your students if they understand clearly the directions or the task. Guided practice. Monitor the understanding of your students, ask them and check their answers. And last, independent practice. Make some individual tasks and make sure they can work independently. Third method by G.H. Black and Lauren Anderson. Their model named Mastery Learning. It has 9 detailed steps. First is clarify. Explain directly what they must learn of the learners. Second is inform. Discuss the lesson, relying on the whole group's instruction. Third is pretest. Give formative quiz. Fourth is group. Group the class between mastery and non-mastery. 80% is considered mastery. Next is enrich and correct. Give corrective to non-mastery group to enrich their understanding. Monitor. Of course, you as a teacher monitor your students and their performance. Post-test. Give summary tests for non-mastery group only. Assess performance. At least 87 students should achieve mastery by the summative test. And last is reteach. If not successfully 75%, repeat the procedures, starting with individual tutoring, extra homework, and many more. Last method by Thomas Good and Jerry Bruppy. Their modeled name systematic instruction. 7 detailed steps. First is review. Reviewing the homework or the previous exercises. Second is development. Promote students' understanding. Third is assess comprehension. Ask information and provide controlled practice. Fourth is set work. Provide uninterrupted set work. Get everyone involved. Sustain momentum. Fifth is accountability. Always check students' work in your class. Next is homework. Give them a homework regularly before they go home. Last is special review. Check students weekly or inform them weekly about their homework in order to maintain their answering homework regularly. So those are the 4 types of some behavioral teaching learning methods. Teaching learning environment. Brian Castaldi in 1987 suggested 4 criteria in the provision of the environment or learning spaces in designing a curriculum. These criteria include adequacy, suitability, efficiency, and economy. First is adequacy. Refers to the actual learning space or classroom. It is having sufficient resources and supports to effectively facilitate learning. This includes things like adequate facilities, materials, and teacher supports, all of which contribute to a positive and productive learning experience for students. Second is suitability. It refers to planned activities. How will the resources, method, and materials align with the specific needs and learning goals of the students? Third is efficiency. It is delivering effective instruction and facilitating students' learning. And last is economy. This refers to cost effectiveness. Helps you to understand the major problems and become a well-rounded thinkers. For the assessment and evaluation, learning occurs effectively when students receive feedback when they receive information on what they have already learned. The process by which this information is generated is assessment. It has 3 main forms. First is self-assessment. Students learn to monitor and evaluate their own learning. Second is peer assessment. Students provide feedback on each other's learning. Third is teacher assessment. The teacher prepares and minister tests and give feedback on the student's performance.
Formative assessments. Why should you use formative assessments in your practice? As a teacher, it is your responsibility to find out if your students do not understand what is being taught. Students are going to have misconceptions. Students will become lost at times. Poor teachers continue to teach whether or not their students understand. However, teachers need to know if their students don't understand what's being taught. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with a class full of confused students that haven't learned anything. So master teachers use formative assessments to make decisions to reteach or move forward. So use formative assessments to change a teaching method, to assign extra homework, or even move forward onto the next topic. When should you use formative assessments? Well, it should be used continuously throughout the lesson. It should be integrated with your instruction to the point where you teach, then assess, teach, then assess, teach, assess, etc., and so forth. Formative assessment should take place firmly during the teaching process.
Assessments, evaluation of long-term learning. So why should you use summative assessments in education? Summative assessments are absolutely necessary because children in schools need to master essential skills and knowledge to be successful in life. Students should not be pushed through a grade. When should you use a summative assessment? Summative assessments are something that should be planned for. Students should be afforded ample time to study and prepare for these summative assessments. Summative assessments should be given at the end of units, periods, and courses. Now, here are some examples of summative assessments. First up, portfolios. They are great alternative assessments for students who struggle with test-taking skills. Next, projects. These are my favorite. Students appreciate project assessments from their teachers. Interviews are not typical, but teachers can learn a lot about student knowledge by simply asking questions.
Now, let's proceed the application of the fundamental components to other curriculum designs. Based on the curriculum models we have learned, the fundamental components include these followings. Major components of a course design or syllabus. So first is the intended outcomes. Define what students should be able to do, know, and value upon completion of a course. Second is content or subject matter. What is the specific topics with references? Third is methods and strategies. It is a teaching techniques and approaches. Last is evaluation. Of course, the assessment of the students' learning progress with learning objectives and standards.
Tulad ng lagi kong sinasabi, that the best way to learn is by having a learning mindset. Kaya ako sinasabi yon because that statement is inspired by John Dewey, kung saan sinabi niya, we do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on the experience. And this is how I was able to develop the concept of learning mindset. Learning mindset is actually reflecting on every experience by asking the else question. Like, what else can I learn from this? Or, how else can I learn from this? For example, tinuturuan kang mag-edit ng video. Then after mo matuto mag-edit ng video, you are asked, what did you learn? And upon hearing the question, the tendency of the brain is to go for the obvious. So you may say, I have learned how to import a video, how to cut a video, how to apply effects to the video, how to export the video, etc., etc. But when asked, what else can you learn from that experience? Your thoughts will not dwell on what is obvious. Instead, your thoughts will start making some connections until you'll be able to say, I learned the value of patience. I learned the value of creativity. I learned the value of hard work. And that's metacognition. And that's how learning mindset works.
That's all. Thank you and God bless.